Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2018 career mode here today for episode number 52 at the British Grand Prix in Season 3. If you guys did miss the previous one then at the Austrian Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But heading into this then, no upgrades to talk about for my home race. You can see the plateau there from that orange line of us here at McLaren, but Red Bull looked to make a tiny minor upgrade there to try and catch us up, but we still remain technically the best car on the grid. You can see Force India also have a minor upgrade to catch up Ferrari, so that'll be interesting to see how they go, because before Ferrari had their bit of demise last episode with the disqualification and the DNF, they were going pretty damn well. We're actually trying to overtake some Haas cars, so we'll see if Ferrari can bounce back here. And finally, Mercedes now look to be a little bit on the up with a minor upgrade for themselves, and you can see it's all so close at the bottom there between Toro Rosso, Sauber and Williams, but neither of those teams are able to kind of try and break that kind of mold and try and catch up Mercedes for good, but we'll see about how it goes in the race. But the home race, so hopefully we can do well. Let's go straight into qualifying then and see how we do over one lap.
It's time once again then for qualifying here at Silverstone, and what we're hoping will be a tight contest for pole position. Many of the drivers have commented on the challenge posed by the high-speed direction changes around this circuit, but you still need to be quick in a straight line. Is that a fair layman's appraisal?
Drivers are going to need a nicely balanced car to be fast here. They'll need to get the most out of the medium and high-speed corners, which will push them to run more downforce. But in turn, this slows the car down on the straights. It's a tricky balancing act.
Right, so settling into Q1 then, the first qualifying session of this Saturday afternoon, and we're flying through Stowed towards the last few corners then on our first and only flying lap in Q1. This will be good enough to get us into Q2, thankfully. Kind of surprising, really, because obviously not just the back history, but also Silverstone, for me on this year's game, has been very odd. It kind of takes a few fair old laps to get used to the circuit in a way, like the break points, and also just the track for some reason seems just a little bit different on this year's game compared to 2017 in terms of getting to the rhythm in career mode. But we get through P13, that's fine. Alonso a little bit off the pace there in Q1, but we should kind of heat up and see how we go in Q2. Obviously trying to get through into the top 10 shootout, not trying to try anything clever with the medium tyre or anything like that. We're just going to try and get through on the soft compounded tyre, and we go through on one lap there. You can see it's not going to be good enough at the moment. That was a very poor lap there, scruffy one, so we need to improve quite a fair bit, I would say there. But you can see the likes of Hamilton and Raikkonen on the bubble of the top 10 as well, so we might well actually bounce out the kind of home favourite, I guess, Lewis Hamilton. Although I am the reigning world champion this season at the moment, obviously, I still think probably the Brits are going to favour Lewis Hamilton over the kind of still young to the sport other Brit in the form of myself. So we could try and bounce out the home favourite Hamilton there out the top 10. We'll have to see. At the moment we're P14, just ahead of Marcus Ericsson behind Nico Hülkenberg, but it's going to be a decent amount of gain time in the first sector through Beckett's flying through there. We usually gain a decent amount of time through there on the rest of the grid, and then as we go into the final corner, this is where we could potentially lose some time, maybe through the last corner, just trying to get the power down as early as possible. And I've never quite nailed it ever on Silverstone, but we do get across the line in a very good P4 there, so that really got me chirped up for our pace. In the end it ends up being P6, but pretty close to Alonso, and just nicely quite high up there in the top 10 compared to maybe before where we just about managed to get in. But both Red Bull cars, very interesting, both Red Bulls get through on mediums, so both the Red Bulls obviously with a minor upgrade for this weekend, so improved package for the Red Bull team, and that's quite impressive for them to get through on medium tyres, so they're going to be very well placed for the race. Maybe it's going to be a one-stop probably, because even with the soft tyre to mediums you can make a one-stop work pretty easily, I mean relative, so I don't think the Red Bulls can gain really much strategically, but I guess they'll be a bit more comfortable kind of midway through into the race when their tyres hold on a little bit longer than the soft compounded tyre on most of our cars. Anyway, back to our flying lap here, our one and only lap in Q3, because I burnt up 2 sets of soft tyres in Q2, and it was going really well until this last corner. You can see that little bit of squirm on throttle. I think that cost me a fair bit, and across the line, and we finish up in a really disappointing P9, and Fernando Alonso, my teammate, gets pole position, and it's a pretty comfortable lap time compared to myself. We're, you know, nearly over 7.5 tenths off Alonso there, so it's not been a good day in the office. We have a lot of homework to do into the race. We have to hope for some luck also in the race, and I'm just kind of puzzled at how I lost that much time. I thought it was a pretty decent lap, like I said, up until the last corner. So at the moment, Alonso off the back of obviously the win that I kind of gifted him, but we got P2 there. We were very fast around Austria, so absolutely baffled at the moment where my pace has gone from Austria here to Silverstone. I don't know, maybe a bit of a home kind of bogey curse almost in a way, you know, that comes to the home Grand Prix, don't do as well. And you can see it's very very, very close in qualifying there. You can see the entire top 5 separated by less than 1/100th of a second, actually. We can see Magnussen, Ocon, and Grosjean on the same lap time, and then Raikkonen 1,000th faster than all 3 of them in second place. So it's crazy close in the top 5 there. So it could be a really great race. That will shape things up very nicely and bodes well. They're all fighting. We can gain some time in the race. But yeah, as I said, just very kind of scared in a way of losing that much time to Alonso. So let's just hope for a better race day then and get into the intro.
We're right back where it all began. The very first World Championship Grand Prix was held here at Silverstone in 1950, with Giuseppe Farina taking the top step of an all-Alfa Romeo podium. He earned 9 championship points that day on his way to the inaugural title. His winning total at the season's end, just 30 points. My, how times have changed. So let's see who can reach the top step of the modern podium today. The 3.6-mile-long Silverstone Circuit is one of the longest of the season, with 18 corners in the current layout. With average lap speeds reaching around 145 miles per hour, it's also one of the quickest tracks of the year. Watch out for cars taking the right-handers of Abbey and Copse flat out. Anthony Davidson joins me again for the race today. Let's talk about the engineer. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
It's been a really solid year so far. There have been some incredible standout performances, but what's really impressed me has been the consistency. With this kind of form, I'm expecting another great race today.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Fernando Alonso has a good view of turn 1 from his pole position slot, and Kimi Raikkonen completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Grosjean, Ocon, Kevin Magnussen, and Ricciardo, Vettel, Verstappen, the engineer, and Charles Leclerc, Sainz, Hamilton, Nico Hülkenberg, and Perez, Ericsson, Gasly, Valtteri Bottas, and Lance Stroll, Hartley, and Sergei Sirotkin rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
So no grid penalties to talk about ahead of us, so we are indeed actually starting in P9 at our home race here at the British Grand Prix, which is rather unfortunate, but you know what, let's keep the spirits high. One stop here, soft tyre to the mediums. We have to start on the softs. We qualified in Q2, of course, but like I said in the qualifying portion, Red Bull will start on the mediums, because both of them got into Q3 on mediums, I should say, but it won't really be much of a tactical advantage, I would imagine, so that was a bit of an odd one, but anyway, we're going to bump down the fuel a tad, don't want to be too heavy, and now we're going to go to those 5 red lights then for the British Grand Prix here at Silverstone from P9 on the grid. Let's make those up as we go to 5 red lights, and we're underway, and it's a pretty okay start compared to Vettel, but a great start from Verstappen then, already pressurising his teammate Daniel Ricciardo into turn 1. Yellow flags, oh my god, we narrowly missed the Force India, T-boning the Red Bull, I think that was, and by an inch, a whisker on the right hand side, we avoided that, and for the second time in a year, I have to take to the escape road there in the same exact place and come back on track on the same exact bit of tarmac there at Village. But let's take a look at a replay then and see what went on. Looks like the Force India went down the inside of a Ferrari car, I think that was, and ultimately I think that's what spun out, but there we go, on the exact same bit of patch that we had to escape to in Season 2. Literally deja vu start there for me at Silverstone. Here it is then, the Force India down the inside. It's the Haas that takes out, I think that's Perez. Perez's front left tyre, or Ocon, sorry, that's Ocon, sorry, I should say. Ocon's front left tyre completely sheared off, and then this is what happens with the Red Bull car. He gets a bit of a T-bone here, or a slight T-bone, kind of adjacent to that, and both Red Bulls held up there massively, and so both of them are going to be on the back foot with medium tyres, and this is on board with Vettel then. We fly around the outside. You can see there how fast I was coming, because I did not realise the Force India was there, so I was very lucky that I was able to go to the left-hand side and go round on the escape road there, and we come off with no, obviously, penalty for doing that, because that was avoiding action, but in doing so, we got very lucky, because now we're up into what is P6, I believe, because now Raikkonen's P2, the two Haas 3 and 4, so actually we're up into P5 then. My maths was very bad there on the fly, but yeah, Raikkonen P2, not for too long though, because both Haas cars, like grey sharks now, are going to try and pounce round the outside. Grosjean will go into Stowe and try and get the Ferrari works car as the Haas Ferrari powers past there, and so the Haas trying to flex his muscles, and Raikkonen left as the only man flying the flag for Ferrari really at the moment, as Vettel is way down the order now, I think in P8-ish, kind of behind both Red Bull cars and just lost generally a lot of time, obviously, by being so slow into turn 1 on lap number 1. And after one Haas dispatch, Raikkonen won't take too long for the other one. Magnussen follows suit then in P4 at the moment, down the inside of Maggots, and it's going to be a very nice overtake if he makes this stick there. I think they're both of them still side by side in the middle of Maggots and Beckett. Absolutely amazing racing there, and you can see we're going to benefit quite a bit there. The orange McLaren in the background is myself, and we're gaining quite a bit of time by these two going so slow, trying to keep it close and, not make contact going side by side in what is a very tricky section anyway of Maggots and Beckett's in these cars. But Magnussen round the outside now, Stowe to try and finish that move then effectively, and he's up into P3, and he can try and waltz off and try and catch his teammate Grosjean, who's going to try and do the best job he can of catching my teammate at the moment, who's had a very clean run from pole position and is still out there in first place. So that's what happens when you start in pole position. You get a nice clean run. You don't have to worry about T-bone cars Force India's right ahead of you into the apex of turn 1. But now we go on to the very next lap, and we are catching rapidly on Raikkonen, who is also fancying maybe to re-overtake Magnussen. So I said it's going to help us out of them fighting. It has helped out majorly. So on lap 3 now, DRS available to us. We're going to open the DRS and go down the inside of Raikkonen. We have a little bit of a sniff down the inside of Magnussen, but ultimately just did not have the pace and momentum to shoot it down the inside to make a double pass. But one pass will do me for now, and we're ahead of Raikkonen. Despite Raikkonen having DRS on Magnussen himself, we just had the better slipstream there. Obviously the drag reduction updates and the engine power of our car helping out. But to say that, Raikkonen tries his best around the outside of turn 1, because of course, like I said in the qualifying portion, my traction's pretty poor in the last corner, I will fully admit. So Raikkonen has a good go into turn 1, but nothing comes of it. But eventually at the moment, so far in this Grand Prix then, Alonso leads, Grosjean in second place, Magnussen third. We're still chasing after quite hard in P4, Raikkonen P5. Behind us then, it's going to be Daniel Ricciardo. Then you've got Hamilton defending from one of the Sauber cars of, I think it's Charles Leclerc. Leclerc trying to go around the outside of Hamilton, and Hamilton for now defends quite well, but the Sauber definitely looking quite aggressive there, and looking like he wants to fight with the Mercedes car. So I mentioned, Sauber, Toro Rosso and Williams really haven't made the step up I thought they would to try and catch and overtake Mercedes on the performance chart, but in race conditions, they're looking pretty damn good actually on level pace with the Mercedes car. But now getting back to our POV then, we're closing up on Magnussen, our old teammate, trying to make a move down the inside as Stowe with DRS there for us down that back straight, but Magnussen pulled through on the outside and does well, has the grip there. He's on the inside then for the first part of the last chicane. We'll take the inside line then for the final 2 corners, but Magnussen finds the momentum there, squeezes the throttle a little bit earlier than me, and goes right around the outside of me on the last 2 corners, so does really well. And look at that now, Raikkonen joins the party. Will he make a move down the inside? He goes for it there as the proximity arrow is red, and so we had to back out of that and go a little bit wide on purpose into turn 1 to give Raikkonen the room, and in the end Kimi just goes wide on his own accord as well, so that was a bit frustrating. And so now as we move on through the laps then, Alonso's in, Grosjean's in on lap number 6, a little bit early to be honest compared to what me and Magnussen might be doing here. At least I'm definitely going a lot longer, obviously trying to stretch these soft tyres, but I guess Alonso and Grosjean must be going on the blue wall tyres, and yes, there they are. Alonso now in traffic and having to overtake some Mercedes cars here, but it's going to be a very easy job for Alonso down the inside of the old turn 1 cops there, and that's quite a sight to see. McLaren very easily going down the inside of the Mercedes. How far the mighty have fallen, really. Mercedes this season has been a story of absolute calamity for them, from reigning world champions in season 1 to pretty much a bottom 4 team, and very much solidified in that kind of role. And on that same lap that Alonso overtook the Mercedes, we're here chasing after Magnussen now for P1. We're P2, and we're gaining on him quite surprisingly quite a fair bit. I think his tyres might be going off, because through turns 1 and the entire first sector, you can see how much time Magnussen has just lost through that just left-hander into Village. So I think either his tyres have gone off the cliff, or he's hitting some issues, maybe trying to save ERS, maybe he's on non-ERS, but you can see how easy this pass is going to be down the inside, and so we're up into first place then. We've got some clean air to keep on going then and stretch these tyres as much as we can to make our life easier then on the medium tyres. Of course, Alonso's clearly chosen the other way around to kind of just go early and go onto those harder compound tyres, but clearly Magnussen hitting the cliff or having issues there, and so we can just do our business in running clean air. But that was Alonso, and we have to go a few cars back then to see where Romain Grosjean is at the moment, who's got issues of his own, because the Toro Rosso is round the outside then. I think that's Gasly going down the inside then of Luffield there, squirts the throttle on soft tyres there. Now I know that's a difference of 2 compounder tyres, but still the Haas is going very slow indeed, and that Williams car is closing up as well. And so I think maybe the Frenchman has an issue, because now you can see there on the right hand side, that's the Red Bull of Max Verstappen that comes down the inside out the pit lane to try and overtake him. Now remember, Verstappen was not only behind Grosjean, he was behind me, he was behind Magnussen, and he was in P5 I think, and now he's actually level pegging with Grosjean and he's overtaking him, or trying to overtake him around the outside as we enter that Luffield section there. Verstappen with a very nice swooping move around the outside. So Grosjean has lost a heap of time. I was ahead of Verstappen and I've not made my pit stop yet, so in theory I should be able to jump Grosjean and hopefully still be ahead of Verstappen, so I could be in a net P2 position. That's how much time both Haas cars have lost. Grosjean and Magnussen with either tyre issues or car issues, I don't know. I thought it was tyre issues for Magnussen, but now I'm thinking it can't be a coincidence that also Grosjean's going slowly. So I think both Haas cars are having a calamity right now, and so we could jump up into P2 very nicely as we come into the pit lane now for our one and only pit stop onto medium tyres. I mean, you saw, like I said, Verstappen is already up into what is P3 at the moment, if I can slot in ahead of him, and so that's definitely probably a guarantee at this rate, basically. So now we just come in very nicely, very barren pit lane, no one's coming in with us, so we're taking these tyres the longest of everyone, so we should have the nicest time on the mediums then as we come out then, and so we'll see where we jump up to, and hopefully it is in that P2. That'd be very nice to make it a 1-2 for McLaren once again in the home Grand Prix. It would be good for me now to get some clean air to maybe try and chase after Alonso, although I've got to say Alonso's had some insane pace so far in this Grand Prix. But as we exit the pit lane, confirmation on the top left, we are in P2, Verstappen is P3, so both myself and Verstappen can pat ourselves on the back there. We've made a huge overcut work on both Haas cars, and you can see Grosjean clearly still struggling with issues, as now the Force India of Perez round the outside then to try and make that overtake down the inside for the last 2 corners, and he just brushes him aside very, very easily there. But like I said, now at this stage of the Grand Prix, we're all going to the end of this race, so now it's a case of I'm just going to try and push as hard as I can to try and catch Alonso. But like I was saying before it confirmed we're in P2, Alonso's been literally in a different universe. Like, I'm still quite scared from qualifying. It's carried forward into the race. Like, he's got some alien-like pace at the moment in this race, almost like what he had in Season 2, if you remember back to the Singapore Grand Prix, where he was an entire 45 seconds ahead of everyone at Singapore last season. It's that kind of pace. Like, I don't know if it's some sort of AI glitch with Alonso or whatever in this game, but I think the switch has been turned on. He's an absolute beast at the moment in this race, so I don't know how much of a chance I have to try and catch up to him. But now, whilst I've been talking about that, you can see there Grosjean got overtaken by not only Sebastian Vettel but also Charles Leclerc. So Grosjean is just going back and back in this race, and actually the Ferraris are showing up a little bit, because Vettel did have some decent pace, because also Raikkonen's showing that pace because he's down the inside of Lewis Hamilton. Both of them side by side in Magnussen Beckett, so he's unable to completely make that pass stick. But then with DRS now towards Stowe, he'll fly past Hamilton there and he'll get up the position, and Vettel's not too far off there as well. So that's a kind of middle way case of the Mercedes being that slow. The Ferrari definitely is a little bit better around Silverstone than it was looking at Austria. But away from the Ferraris being determined to overtake cars ahead of them, a man on a mission is Sergio Perez on the inside of Magnussen Beckett. Side by side he goes with Verstappen then to try and get into P2. He's on mediums and Verstappen on the blue wall hard tyres, and Perez on the outside then to the inside for the next left-hander. He'll have the straight line speed in theory, even with DRS. The Red Bull is a little bit slow in a straight line, but he does pull alongside him, so fair play. But Perez on the outside of Stowe keeps it in there. This is becoming an absolute sensational battle as they're on board now. A very awkward camera angle here to watch, but now we can just about see Perez is still just ahead of Verstappen, but Verstappen's still got his nose in, and the final 2 corners, bit of contact made on the left-hand side, and Verstappen is still pushing hard. He's right up the gearbox of the Mexican there. He pulls to the inside for turn 1, and literally these guys are almost going to be fighting for an entire lap now as Verstappen's back ahead of Perez. So literally a back and forth fight now for P3 in this Grand Prix. Verstappen P3 for now still, Perez P4, and not too far behind then is the Haas of, I think that's it must be Magnussen, I'm assuming, because I think Grosjean's dropped off the pace now and basically off the face of the earth. But here comes Perez now once again, DRS open and down the inside and back again he goes up into P3, and I think that one will stick maybe, but Verstappen might come in. He will! Verstappen with the squirt of the throttle, and he's defending the position in Luffield. Not for too long though. The Mexican finally gets that, but literally nearly an entire lap that was of side-by-side fighting. Absolutely amazing. But Perez up into P3. Meanwhile, up the road, we're there in P2, not too far away from Perez. You can see Alonso literally nowhere to be seen on the minimap there. I'm pretty much driving into no man's land and trying to see if I can close the gap on Alonso, but it's just not happening. Even though I'm setting purple lap times as well, I just can't really break into that 11 seconds plus that Alonso has on me there. So it might be a bit of a lonely afternoon for me. Meanwhile now, we're enjoying an overtaking show here at the moment, thanks to the Haas of Grosjean going slow, and the Ferraris have finally caught up to him. So Raikkonen on the inside of Maggots there has done the job, and so now can Vettel close up. Both Ferraris are already past Hamilton, so Hamilton's in the background there, going a little bit slow on the straights, and Leclerc not too far off them. So Leclerc doing a stellar job in the Sauber, as now Grosjean tries to actually re-overtake Raikkonen for a second there, and Vettel has to stick behind wait until the next straight with DRS then, and he's going to go towards the inside, I imagine, to maybe overtake Grosjean there. Yeah, there he goes, pulls out to the inside, does the job under braking, squeeze him out on the left-hander into left field, and job done there. Vettel up one position, and Hamilton now can maybe try and overtake the Haas, and that will probably be the only overtake Hamilton's going to make this afternoon, because really apart from that, he's just been going backwards and backwards from the kind of good position he kind of gained on lap 1 after that kind of kerfuffle with the Force India. But Hamilton is past Grosjean, and then eventually Leclerc will come knocking though, and Leclerc is coming pretty damn thick and fast with DRS open. Here he goes, the youngster in the Alfa Romeo Sauber, down the inside. Sauber v Mercedes, that is not a phrase you ever thought I'd be saying, but there we go, we are saying it, and the Sauber has got a fair bit of damn pace in a straight line to actually match the Mercedes car. The Mercedes still clearly has some grip in the mid-corner apex there, but Leclerc doing a stellar job with the loud pedal on the outside there of the old turn 1. Cops round the outside he goes, and it's a great scrap here. Leclerc v Hamilton, a multiple world champion v a youngster in Formula 1, and he's really having a good fight at it. And for now, the Mercedes might stay ahead through the downforce part of Maggots and Beckett, but now on the slingshot, DRS available. We know how good the Sauber is in a straight line. Will he have enough grip in the brakes and his Stowe to actually make this stick there? He's going to pull on the left-hand side for the outside move to Stowe. Hamilton defends quite well to the inside line, and it looks like for now, the Sauber just doesn't have that remaining grip and downforce to make the move there. So you can clearly see that Sauber, if it had, maybe a little bit more downforce upgrades on the car, or a chassis upgrade or two, it definitely could be probably faster than the Mercedes car, which is crazy to think. But now, on to lap 23, and with 3 laps to go in this Grand Prix, Alonso is still setting purples there, you saw, on worn hard tyres, I assume, unless he's made a second pit stop that I don't know about. So Alonso really is literally an alien at this point. He's literally gone back and flashbacks to the Season 2 Singapore version of himself, and I literally can't touch him. Meanwhile, though, we've still got fighting going on, and now it's the Red Bull of Verstappen v Ferrari. Both Ferraris are mediums, and looks like the hard tyre for the Red Bull car is not working out there. Very odd situation. Red Bull started on mediums, they've got to hards, so they didn't even use the soft tyres this race. A very odd strategy, and it means that Verstappen is left trying to fight the Ferraris, and the Ferraris, who have not really looked that fast compared to Red Bull this season, are actually genuinely looking quite good here around Silverstone. So Verstappen does his a good job here to try and go down the inside of Raikkonen, and it's a great little scrap, just like they had in the real life race almost. But Verstappen now, will he have the speed down the inside of Kops there? Vettel's just lurking in the background watching these two go side by side yet again, and Verstappen does get that. So to be fair, even though maybe the hard tyres aren't the best choice for the Red Bull car, Verstappen's giving it a good old fight to keep ahead of both of the Scuderia. But here comes Vettel now. Maybe he's looking a bit hungry. Maybe with DRS he can get a double slingshot on his teammate and Verstappen. Here goes Vettel. Will he make the move? No, Raikkonen still makes the move. But now here goes Vettel down the inside, maybe for a double pass on Verstappen there. Vettel down the inside. Raikkonen's got it already, and Verstappen is defenseless. And so it's a nice teamwork pass there from Ferrari. Vettel on the right, Raikkonen on the left, and both of them get past the Dutchman there. Very nice to see. As now we move on to lap 25 then, on to lap 26, and the last lap of the Grand Prix. Alonso still going well with the purple lap time here, and in the meanwhile, I'm worrying about Perez coming at me thick and fast in this race. And you can see on the bottom right, we don't have too much ERS alter to play and deploy here in this final lap of the Grand Prix, so Perez might have me on the DRS straight towards Luffield, but then we're going to have to keep it calm, and like we did last season, try and make a last lap overtake then on the other DRS zone on the back straight towards Stowe potentially here. So we're going to just definitely keep it composed and don't get panicked if Perez gets past us here, because you can see even with overtake mode there on ERS, Rich Mix going, Perez is flying here, down the inside he goes, and so that Force India once again so good in a straight line, annoyingly good in a straight line, and now he's on the outside, bit of contact made there with his side pod there, and he's getting very aggressive, Perez is. We even squeeze him a little bit towards the left hand side, but he's got that in a straight line. We're going to have to remain calm though. We kept on overtake mode, but now it's time to try and conserve some ERS down to high through Cops, and now just try and keep control of the cars. We get a bit of dirty air, but now through Mack to Beckett, just try and pull through the time we know we can gain on the entire grid through this section, and very good through this section, and now just get the exit correct, and we're going to go back up into overtake mode, open DRS. We've still got Rich Mix for this entire lap here, and so here we go, gaining, and we are going to try and overtake and get back into P2 as Fernando Alonso wins the British Grand Prix. He's done it in my backyard there, and so Alonso 2 wins on the trot. So will I live to regret being so sportsmanship-like to my teammate there as he won the Austrian Grand Prix, he wins the British Grand Prix, and we come home in second place. So it's another 1-2 for McLaren, so I'm going to be happy about that. Two 1-2s in a row for McLaren Renault. That is very good, but at the same time I'm very scared as well about the race pace Alonso had today.
McLaren have pulled it off. They've won in spectacular fashion here today. So, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance.
So that was a dominating pole to the win then for Fernando Alonso. 2 wins on the trot, but 2 1-2s on the trot for McLaren. So can't be too disheartened, but definitely got a bit spooked by his pace there. So hoping that next time out at the German Grand Prix, I love Hockenheim as a track. Hopefully we can bounce back and beat Fernando Alonso there and try and, put the doubts in my mind away. Because in this episode, I literally had no answers. I don't very often get stumped by AI pace and my teammates' pace too often. I can sometimes be a little bit slower, but not that much slower. That was a good 7/10 he had me in qualifying, and it looked like that carried forward into the race somehow. So that definitely was the first time I got absolutely whooped by my teammate, probably since Season 1 when I was getting used to the game with Magnussen. So, yeah, that was a bit odd, but, we'll bounce back hopefully at Germany. But it's all good things for the constructors. Obviously, we get a lot of points on Red Bull Racing there. Ferrari, with their good performance this time round, do bounce back from Austria, so fair play, and they get back ahead of Renault in the constructors. So, you got to say GG's eventually for the team I maybe meant to go to in Season 4. They bounced back from what was a disarray at Austria, so at least that's good for them. But we're going to go into the final interview then with Claire and round out the episode.
Amazing performance out there. You must be really happy. You really cut your way through the field today. What was your strategy?
We got quite lucky with the Force India at lap 1, I've got to say, but we're just going to answer the bottom one.
You must be thrilled to be up on the podium.
Going to compliment the aero package because I think ultimately that really helped both me and Alonso. In Sector 2, our car was really quite godly in Magnussen Beckett's.
That was a close finish. How were things between the two of you?
I don't know if Claire was insulting me there with saying it's a close finish, but I'm going to say it's a heated good fight for the rivalry at least.
There was some contact between you two. What happened out there?
And since I might be replacing Raikkonen next season at Ferrari, I'm going to be a bit feisty and say that the needs to look where he's going, to be honest, because I think he was in the wrong.
Great. Well, that's everything.
And so that's going to round out the episode. Although I don't actually remember fighting Kimi too much. I'm actually trying to remember literally the race I just watched back, trying to think where I fought Kimi. I don't think I actually did, maybe on lap 1 maybe. But anyway, we are at the moment losing the rivalry with Alonso. So he may be being beaten by Alonso right now, but I'm still beating Raikkonen. So in my mind, as long as I beat Kimi, I'm good. Because remember, like I just said, Kimi might be, the driver I replace at Ferrari once I go to the next season. Because obviously, as you can clearly see, Ferrari are nowhere near the constructors. So pretty much at this stage of the season even, I think it's pretty much a guarantee that Ferrari don't win the Constructors' title, and therefore they trigger the clause that says I have to drive for them then in Season 4. But going to the end of the episode then, looking at the upgrades, we're going to go for a minor engine upgrade. So that's the last minor upgrade I can afford on the engine there. So that's going to come in for next race at the German Grand Prix. So hopefully that's a good help for me and Alonso, but hopefully more for me to try and beat him there. But then we pretty much will only have 3 ultimate upgrades on the engine left. So we're pretty much getting to the maximum of that. We've got the ultimate drag reduction, obviously, of Hungary as well. So all looking good for the performance of the car and development. But guys, if you did enjoy this episode, hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, you can subscribe for weekly full-on content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of the day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.